So I think, engaging students in a class that size is difficult. And it's particularly difficult for students who are shy or don't feel comfortable talking in front of that many students. And I think one of the key things to do from the outset of the class is really invite students who would not normally participate in the class to volunteer and take risks. And I think the way to do that is to model. I try to model myself as being somebody who's still in a constant state of learning, that if I don't know something, I'm not going to try to avoid that. I'm going to acknowledge it and talk about how I might find out more about that topic. And so I think when students start seeing that I'm willing to take intellectual risks in the class and other students are, they're much more likely then to take risks themselves. And so I think having those kinds of conversations, recognizing that not everyone's going to be comfortable participating, yet inviting those particular students to do that. So I will say things in my class, for example, when I need to volunteer for a simulation or role play, I'll say who I want to volunteer for this is somebody who this is the absolute most dreaded thing you can imagine. That if you come down here, you might feel like you're going to pass out or vomit. I want you to come down here. And if you pass out or vomit, we will get you help. But I want you to try to take those kinds of challenges because that's really a way to learn this material and to grow in this area where you feel uncomfortable. So I'll invite students to do that. But even those that refuse to do that still, I recognize that there are other alternative ways I can still get shy students to participate and feel more comfortable. So there's a couple things I do. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll have them pair share where they can share with one or two other students their ideas, and then I'll have those one representative from a group share out the ideas of the entire group. So at least their ideas are getting voiced, even though they're not comfortable to do that. At the end of most class meetings, I'll have an exit reflection, which is a 1 or 2 minute reflection, where they might reflect on something they have a question about, something that's unclear, something that really resonated with them. And what I'll do is I'll read those, and usually I'll learn the students' names who participate. And so I'll try to share out in the next class meeting some of the comments or ideas that were brought up by students who I haven't learned their names yet, who haven't been participating. I'll do that in an anonymous way and somewhat of an aggregate way. I'll say, here's a couple things that students have said that they had questions about that are unclear or that were really compelling, and share those out. And when students hear their ideas being shared out, I found that they're more likely then to actually participate, and those are students that again start learning their names more quickly, and they've kind of come out of the shadows and become more visible in the class. And the other thing I use is Blackboard. I use forums where they can discuss with their peers, where they can do reflections and send those to me, and so that they always have multiple opportunities to share their voice, either in class in small groups or through virtual means, and then always trying to encourage them to share their ideas throughout class. But I realize there's a continuum of comfort, and not all students are going to feel comfortable doing so. So trying to provide many opportunities for success, I think, is critical. And that's what I try to communicate to them, that although we all have the same criteria on these assignments, there are multiple roads into Rome. And that might mean that you, instead of doing a class presentation, you're going to do an iMovie. And we'll show that iMovie if you feel more comfortable doing it instead of standing in front of the entire group. Or if you want to collaborate with somebody on something, you can do that. And so I try to create many different ways for students to be part of the class, represent their ideas, and importantly, feel comfortable and connected to what's happening in the classroom.